So anemia, one you might think that it is a mistake, that is in the spelling itself. One second. So anemia is characterized by the deficiency of hemoglobin in the blood. So it is deficiency of hemoglobin that defines the anemia. Okay, so it can be caused by either too few red blood cells, red blood cells, or too little hemoglobin in the cells. So there are two conditions which are characteristics of the anemia, that is too few red blood cells and the too little hemoglobin. Okay, so what is the ultimate result of this is the reduction in tissue oxygenation. Okay, what is tissue oxygenation? It means that if there is there are too few red blood cells present in the blood, or there is little amount of hemoglobin present in the RBCs, then it will certainly affect the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. Okay, so that means the amount in which the oxygen should be carried by the blood, it will decrease, and as oxygen carrying capacity of the blood decreases, it ultimately results in a reduction in tissue oxygenation, that is oxygen which is being carried to the tissue. Okay, so tissue gets less oxygen supply in case of anemia. Okay, so identification of anemia by blood smear. Okay, so how we determine that a person is anemic or not. Okay, so it can be identified with a blood smear. So what is blood smear, that we are going to see in next slide. So hemoglobin estimation is invariably followed by examination of peripheral blood film or for morphologic features after staining it with the Romanowski dyes. Okay, so this is the name of the stain which is used to identification of the anemia. Okay, so example, so these Romanowski dyes, it is a group of stains which contain common stains like Leishman stain, then McGranwal's Gisma stain, then a genus Gisma stain, and the rice chain. Okay, so there are many examples of this, many members of this group. So any of the stain that can be used for the identification of the anemia. The most commonly used is the this one, that is Leishman stain and the Gisma stain, Gimsa stain. Sorry, not Gisma, it is Gimsa stain. So this is how the smear is prepared, that you have to take two slides. So this spreader, it can also be a type of slide only. Okay, so you have to put a drop of blood onto one slide, you have to use another slide as the spreader. Okay, so please see the angle between it is approximately 45 degrees. Okay, so you have to this move back. You have to, once you hold it in the hold this spreader like this, you have to touch the drop by moving this spreader at the back, on the on this in this direction. Okay, so there is a contact between the blood drop and the slide. Okay, so once the blood drop makes contact with the slide, you have to move the slide in forward direction. Okay, so once the drop makes the contact with the slide, you have to move the slide or the spreader in forward direction, so you will get a smear, blood smear like this. Okay, so this is blood smear or blood film, and you have to let it dry, and you have to apply the stain, any of the stain which is mentioned in last slide, and you have to observe this slide under the microscope. So once you observe the slide under microscope, you get to know that what type of, depending on the morphological features of the red blood cells, you can identify what type of anemia it is. Okay, so what abnormalities are to be observed in blood smear? That is, first is variation in size, that is anisocytosis. If there is, we know the size, shape, color of the red blood cell, so we have to first of all see whether there is any variation in size of the red blood cells. Okay, then there is variation in shape. So we have studied the shape of the RBCs is usually the disc shape. Okay, centrally it is flattened portion, but at the periphery it is disc shape. Okay, so there is any variation in shape, we have to look for. So this is called as poikilocytosis. Okay, so next abnormality we have to look for is inadequate hemoglobin formation. So that is hypochromasia. So chroma, when the word comes, it relates to the color. Okay, so if hemoglobin content is lesser, then the color, which, see, the red blood cell, why the red blood cells are called as red blood cells, it is because of presence of hemoglobin in it. Okay, so if amount of hemoglobin in the red blood cell, if it is less, then the color of the red blood cell, it will also be less. Okay, so it will appear faint color. Hypo means less. Okay, less chroma means color. Okay, so next is compensatory erythropoiesis. That means if you observe the number of cells that have increased significantly in the amount of blood which you have taken, that is that is indicative of compensatory erythropoiesis. That means uh, we have studied that in case of males, females, it is 4.5 millions. Okay, and in case of males it is 4.8 millions. Okay, so that is approximate value or average RBC value of the value in the males and females. So if the number of RBC they increase than this, it may go to 6 million or something like that, then it is indicative of the compensatory erythropoiesis. Compensatory erythropoiesis means what? Whatever whatever erythrocytes, one second. Okay, so whatever erythrocytes present in the blood, as they have a less amount of hemoglobin contained in it, the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood has decreased. Okay, so in order to compensate the decreased oxygen carrying capacity of the blood, the red bone marrow starts producing the number of RBCs, and the RBCs which are formed, they are being released into the circulation, and this excess number of RBCs, they try to compensate the loss which have caused because of less amount of hemoglobin present in the RBCs. Okay, so they try to make up the lost amount of oxygen which is being carried by the blood. Okay, and the next abnormality we look for, it is the any miscellaneous changes therein. Okay, so you when the smear is being observed under microscope, you may find such type of abnormalities, that is spherocyte. Okay, then next is schistocyte. So you can see a crenated like structure over here. So the shape of the these RBCs have changed. So in this case also, irregularly contracted cells you can see. So these irregularly contracted cells, again the shape is changed. So the target cell. Okay, Then next, sickle cell. So again shape you can see the sickle cell. So the in a specific type of anemia you can see the sickle shape cells. Okay. Then crenated red cells, then acanthocytes, then Burr cell, then stomatocyte, and the ovalocyte. So these are the common morphological abnormalities of the red cell. So this particular diagram I have taken from the Hirschsprung. Okay. So the main causes of anemia, there are mainly two causes of it. That is, first cause is production of insufficient or defective erythrocyte. That means the RBC production is deficient. Okay. Second cause of anemia is blood loss or excessive erythrocyte breakdown. That means either there will be hemorrhage, alternative term for the blood loss only, and excessive erythrocyte breakdown means what erythrocyte are present, they have normal amount of hemoglobin in it, but their breakdown rate is more. That means when we compare the number of RBC produced with number of RBC broken down, then in this case the number of RBC, usually what happens, the number of RBCs which are being produced is equivalent to the number of RBCs which are broken down. But in this case, excessive erythrocyte breakdown, the number of RBCs which are being broken down, it is more than that of the number of RBCs which are being produced. Okay. So signs and symptoms of the anemia. So these are the symptoms, that is fatigue. So that means fatigue in the sense that you feel very tired whenever you are working something. So you feel tired early. Okay. So then next is the irregular heartbeats. So it is either bradycardia or tachycardia. Then chest pain, or we can say angina pectoris. Then dizziness or lightheadedness. Okay. So चक्कर आल्यासारखं होतं त्याला म्हणतात dizziness. So next is the headache. Then you feel weak, weakness is felt. Then shortness of breath. So this is more evident whenever you are doing any type of exercise or you are just climbing up the stairs. Then cold hands and feet. And lastly the pale and yellowish skin. Okay. So the types of anemia, there are many types of anemia, but the types which we are going to consider over here, they are the main types of it. Okay. So the first one is the iron deficiency anemia. Second one is vitamin B12 and or folic acid deficiency anemia. Third one is aplastic anemia, and lastly it is hemolytic anemia. So in this hemolytic anemia there are congenital, that is congenital, the meaning of word congenital is from birth. Okay. Since birth or from birth, hemolytic anemia. So when baby is born, at that time only that baby is suffering from the hemolytic. So this hemolytic word, it is made up of heme and lysis. Lysis means destruction. Okay. So the type of anemia where there is destruction of RBCs. Okay, so as the destruction of RBCs is taking place, the number of RBC reduced in the blood. Okay, so next type of anemia, it is acquired. Okay, acquired means because of consumption of certain drugs, or because of exposure to certain type of radiations, the RBCs, they get destroyed, and this is called as acquired type of hemolytic anemia. Okay, acquired means you acquire it, you get it. Okay, it is not internally that is being, or that is causing the destruction of RBCs. It is some acquired reason, some external stimuli, some external reason that is causing the hemolysis. Okay, so let's see what is iron deficiency anemia. So it is the most common type. So RBC count is normal, this is important. RBC count is normal. Okay, but RBCs appear pale, small, of variable size, and contain less Hb. So this is important. So iron deficiency anemia, it is associated with less Hb in RBC. Okay, so it can result from three reasons, that is deficient intake. That means, as it is saying that is iron deficiency, so if you, whatever food you consume, if it doesn't have enough amount of iron in it, that's why it is causing the iron deficiency anemia. Second is high requirement. That means you are taking the iron as per the prescribed quantities, but your body requires high amounts of iron, so there is imbalance between the demand and supply. That means your body requires more iron, but you are supplying the iron in lesser quantities, so there is imbalance between the demand and supply of the iron. Then third is malabsorption. So malabsorption means it is deficient, or it is what to say, malabsorption, it is mm, sorry, it is deficient absorption. So you are taking the iron in the prescribed quantities, your body also requires the iron in normal quantities, but whenever you consume any food material that contains the iron, your body is not able to absorb the iron from that particular food material, so it becomes the malabsorption condition. That means everything is normal, your food is rich with the iron content, your body doesn't require excess amount of iron, but your gastrointestinal tract is unable to absorb the iron from it. Okay, so it is malabsorption. So next type of anemia is vitamin B12 deficiency or folic acid deficiency anemia. So in this case, deficiency of vitamin B12 and or folic acid, it impairs erythrocyte maturation, and abnormally large erythrocyte, that is megaloblast, are found in the blood. So you should understand one thing from this, that vitamin B12 and or folic acid, they are responsible, or they are needed for the erythrocyte maturation process. Okay, so if this vitamin B12 and folic acid, they become deficient in nature, then erythrocyte maturation will also not happen, and as it doesn't happen, it leads to the megaloblast. Okay, so you see, the it has two things or two words in this, that is mega and blast. We have already seen that if the suffix is blast, it indicates the cell is immature. Okay, and the word mega, the prefix mega, it indicates big or large. Okay, so the shape of the cell or the size of the cell in case of megaloblast, it is very large or it is very big. Okay, and the cells that are released from the red bone marrow, they are immature. Why they are immature? Because there is deficiency of vitamin B12 and or folic acid. Thus the erythrocyte, they doesn't mature into the mature erythrocytes, and they are released as the megaloblast. Okay, so in vitamin B12 deficiency anemia, so first is the pernicious anemia. So what is the pernicious anemia? So we are actually seeing that what causes vitamin B12 deficiency. Okay, so another type of anemia we have, that is pernicious anemia, that leads to the deficiency of vitamin B12. That means you are having vitamin B12 in appropriate quantities, but it is not getting absorbed. Why it is not getting absorbed? It is because of presence of pernicious anemia. So what is pernicious anemia? It is an autoimmune disease that destroys intrinsic factor and gastric parietal cells. So I will explain you what is the relationship of this intrinsic factor with that of the gastric parietal cell, and what this intrinsic factor has to do with the vitamin B12. Okay, so just wait a second. Okay, so gastric parietal cell, parietal cells. Okay, so where they are present? In the stomach. Okay, so these gastric parietal cells, they release intrinsic factor. Okay, so they are responsible for the production of intrinsic factor and its release. So this intrinsic factor which is being released by the gastric parietal cell, it is responsible for, or it helps in absorption of vitamin B12. Okay, so as it helps in the absorption of vitamin B12, what happens is that the vitamin B12 gets into the systemic circulation, and it helps in the maturation of erythrocytes. Okay, but some autoimmune mechanism autoimmune mechanisms, they destroy gastric parietal cells. Okay, so as gastric parietal cells are destroyed, they don't release the intrinsic factor, and as they don't release the intrinsic factor, there is decrease in absorption of vitamin B12, and this decrease in absorption of vitamin B12, or we may say it lead to the malabsorption of vitamin B12, that is deficient absorption of vitamin B12, and this leads to the vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. Okay, so pernicious anemia is characterized by autoimmune mechanism that is destroying the gastric parietal cells, that is causing the intrinsic factor release to be hampered, and thus causing the malabsorption of vitamin B12. Okay, so this is one cause of vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. Okay, so there are other types or other reasons for the deficiency of vitamin B12. Second, uh, vitamin B12 deficiency anemia cause is dietary deficiency. That means whatever diet you are having, it doesn't have sufficient amount of vitamin B12 in it. If it is, and this is specifically in case of vegan diet. Vegan means pure veg. Okay, because the vitamin B12, it is rich sources of it is meat, fish, eggs, etc. Okay, so those who are pure vegetarian, they usually suffer from this dietary deficiency of vitamin B12, and thus the vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. So other causes of vitamin B12 deficiency are, the first one, that is gastrectomy. Gastrectomy, this tummy is cutting the part of the stomach. Okay, so if you cut out some part of the stomach, then it lead to the loss of parietal cells. Loss of parietal cells. And if there is loss of parietal cells, it leads to the decrease in release of intrinsic factor, and as it is, there is decrease in the release of intrinsic factor, it can create the vitamin B12 deficiency. The next is chronic gastritis. Okay, so I have told you, when the suffix is itis, it means inflammation. Chronic means for longer duration of time. Okay, the inflammation of the mucosa of the stomach, which is for the longer duration of time, causes loss of parietal cells, thus decrease in a release of intrinsic factor, and thus vitamin B12 deficiency. The next is malignant disease. Okay, when the word malignant come, it means cancer. Okay, when there is cancer of the stomach, it leads to the loss of parietal cells, decrease in the release of intrinsic factor, and thus vitamin B12 deficiency. The next is ionizing radiations. Okay, ionizing radiations, the X-rays, gamma radiation, and all, they are also responsible for creation of this vitamin B12 deficiency. And the next is malabsorption. That means you are consuming the vitamin B12 in sufficient amounts. Your body also requires the vitamin B12 in normal amounts, but your gastrointestinal tract, because of certain reasons, is not able to absorb the vitamin B12 which is there in your food. So that is nothing but the malabsorption. The next is complications of vitamin B12 deficiency. So it leads to the deficient myelination of neurons. So this myelination, you know the structure of the neuron. So the axon part of the neuron, it is covered with the myelin sheath, and this myelin sheath act as a insulator. That means it prevents the loss of electric charge from the axon part of the neuron. So if myelination doesn't happen in sufficient amount, then it may lead to the neuropathy. Okay, so next is folic acid deficiency anemia. So megaloblastic anemia, not with the neurological damage. Okay, one thing which is, you must understand one thing with this, that vitamin B12 deficiency anemia, it will it will lead to the megaloblastic anemia. Okay, it will lead to the, so I will tell you how it happens. The vitamin B12 deficiency, it can be created with pernicious anemia, and which may lead to the megaloblastic anemia plus neurological problems. So what are neurological problems in case of vitamin B12 anemia? Because we have seen that it causes deficient myelination of the neurons. So this neurological problem is nothing but the deficient myelination. Okay. But in case of the folic acid deficiency anemia, which will also cause the megaloblastic anemia, but this folic acid has nothing to do with the myelination, so it doesn't play any role in myelination of neurons. So that's why it folic acid, if only folic acid deficiency is there, then it will result in the megaloblastic anemia, but no neurological damage can be seen. Okay, so this is like distinguishing feature between the vitamin B12 deficiency anemia and the folic acid deficiency anemia. If neurological damage is there along with the megaloblastic anemia, then it indicates that there is deficiency of vitamin B12. So appropriately we have to take the or give the medication to the patient. So if we observe that there is no neurological damage but there is megaloblastic anemia present, then it indicates that there is deficiency of folic acid. So again we have to treat accordingly. Okay, so it is caused due to the, again, dietary deficiency. That means whatever diet you are consuming, it doesn't have enough amount of folic acid in it. The next is malabsorption from jejunum. So jejunum, it is part of small intestine. Okay, so malabsorption from jejunum caused by coeliac disease. So a disease that is coeliac, it is causing deficient absorption of the folic acid from the small intestine part, that is jejunum. So tropical sprue or the anticonvulsant drug. Anticonvulsant drug, these are the type of the drugs that are used in treatment of epilepsy or convulsions, or in layman's term, fits. Okay, so these drugs are also known to cause the folic acid deficiency anemia. Then interference with the folate metabolism by cytotoxic and the anticonvulsant drug. So there are certain category of drug that interfere with this folate metabolism, that is folic acid metabolism. Cytotoxic, these are the anti-cancer agents. Okay, so cytotoxic means, cyto means cell, toxic means toxicity. This drugs which cause toxicity to the cells, they are called as cytotoxic. And category of the drugs that come under this, that is anti-cancer agents. And the anticonvulsant agents, they also uh, interfere with the folate metabolism. The next, aplastic anemia. So this results from the bone marrow failure. Okay, we already know that this bone marrow is responsible for the hem hemopoiesis. Okay, it is responsible for the hemopoiesis, that is formation of blood cells. So if bone marrow fails to do its normal physiological role, then we can call it as the bone marrow has failed to do it. So okay, so it is bone marrow failure, so it leads to the anemia. So not simple anemia, we call it as pancytopenia. Okay, so when the suffix comes, that is penia, it is reduction of or decrease in. Okay, so the pan means the entire spectrum of the cells. There is a reduction in production of entire spectrum of the cells. We know that red bone marrow is responsible for production of not only RBCs, but also it is responsible for the production of WBCs and the other type of cells. Okay, so as the red bone marrow fails to do its normal physiological role, that's why it uh, results into the pancytopenia. Okay, so the causes of aplastic anemia, they include drugs like cytotoxic drug, that is anti-cancer drug, can cause aplastic anemia. Then rarely adverse reaction to the anti-inflammatory and the anti-convulsant drug. Adverse reaction means it is side effect. Okay, so again it is rarely, it may happen that the anti-inflammatory, that means the drugs which are used to treat pain. Okay, example is diclofenac, ibuprofen, then paracetamol. Okay, so these drugs, they can be used to treat pain, that is they come under the category of the anti-inflammatory agents. So these drugs in very rare conditions can produce and can cause the aplastic anemia. The next, ionizing radiations, they can also cause the aplastic anemia. Then certain chemicals like benzene, which is very common chemical, and its derivative are also known to cause the aplastic anemia. And the viral diseases including hepatitis can also cause aplastic anemia. So next type is hemolytic anemia. So these occur when circulating RBCs are destroyed prematurely as they are abnormal or the spleen is overactive. Okay, so what is the role of spleen? Spleen is the organ, we are going to study it in the lymphatic system. Spleen is the organ which is responsible for the destruction of RBCs. So when they will destruct the RBCs, when the RBCs reach to their lifespan, that is it is 120 days. Okay, so as they approach this deadline of 120 days, their cell wall becomes fragile in nature, so they lose the elasticity and it becomes fragile in nature. And when RBC enters into the spleen, the capillary spaces, when it enters into the capillary spaces of the spleen, it gets destroyed. Okay, but if the spleen is overactive, that means it is doing whatever function it does, it is overdoing it, then it will kill or it will destroy the RBCs prematurely. That means before the even the RBC approaches the 120 days, before that only it will destroy the RBC and lead to the hemolytic anemia. So there is uh, a first type of hemolytic anemia, that is congenital hemolytic anemia. Okay, so in this type of diseases, there is some genetic abnormality present, and it leads to the synthesis of the abnormal hemoglobin and increase red cell membrane fragility, reducing their oxygen carrying capacity and the lifespan. So the most common types of it is sickle cell anemia. So you can see the sickle shape of the cells, and as this shape is not the normal shape of the cells, these cells, they get stuck into the blood vessels and they get destroyed. And when they acquire this shape, the cell wall or the cell membrane of the this type of red blood cells, it is weakened. that means it becomes very weak in nature. So when they are subject to the slight of the force by the when they are moving through the capillary spaces, they get break down and leads to the hemolytic anemia. The next is the thalassemia. In thalassemia there is abnormal hemoglobin synthesis, and this abnormal hemoglobin synthesis leads to its decretion, destruction. Okay, so and the next one is the hemolytic disease of newborn or erythroblastosis fetalis. So we are going to study it in detail, this erythroblastosis fetalis, when we will study the uh, blood types, okay, blood grouping. Okay, so which are the acquired causes of hemolytic anemia? So exposure to certain chemical agents can cause hemolytic anemia. The next is the autoimmunity. Autoimmunity means when our immune cells, or when our immune cells like T lymphocyte, B lymphocyte, they start, usually what happens, they recognize our own cells, or they are able to differentiate our own cells from the other type of cells. But in case of autoimmunity, these B lymphocytes and T lymphocyte, they start recognize our own cells as the foreign cells, and they mount the immune response against this type of cells. So this is called as autoimmunity. Okay, then next acquired cause of hemolytic anemia is blood transfusions. Okay, so next concept, that is hemostasis. We will study this concept in next lecture. So we should stop over here.